Hi, and welcome to API management for Azure OpenAI service endpoints, hopefully in under 5 minutes. The only thing you need to know about me is my name's Tori. I'm a senior AI consultant at Advancing Analytics. Feel free to follow along. But let's get into it. So the two resources I'm going to be talking about in the next 5 minutes is Azure API Management and Azure OpenAI Service. So Azure API Management, or APIM you might hear me call it, is a centralized platform for you to manage, to version, to track all of your APIs and API policies. It works really well. It integrates with logic apps, function apps, lots of Azure resources, including Azure OpenAI. Azure OpenAI is the deployment of OpenAI models within Azure AI Studio. Allows you to host sort of GPT-4 models, DALL-E models within Azure, knowing that your data is going to stay nice and secure and safe and not tracked elsewhere, and be suitable for production workloads. The reason I'm talking to you about it now is that at Microsoft Build, Microsoft announced that they had these new OpenAI capabilities within APIM. But these largely flew quite under the radar, but I think they're super useful and super powerful, which is why I'm excited to kind of present these to you today. The two main capabilities I want to talk about is the token limit policy and the emit token metric policy, but there were two other announcements. This is the load balancer and the semantic caching. But I'm focusing on the first two because they fit within 5 minutes and they are super easy to get up and started with. So our first policy, token limit policy, if you've ever used Azure OpenAI and you've deployed a model, you'll see that you have a token per minute quota. Whether this be sort of 2K or 45K, this is like a blanket quota that everyone that uses that model deployment has to abide by. But with Azure API management, we're able to limit and create a token quota per application. So we can limit these tokens per subscription or per IP address. So I can say, actually, I only want 1K to be used per minute by this platform application, even though this model can port up to 10K, for example. And this prevents applications or users for specifically throttling your service and allowing this to be open to other applications. The second policy is the emit token metric policy. So this will allow you to track usage metrics from OpenAI. If you've deployed models with OpenAI before, you'll see that the cost stats aren't exciting. You'll get a breakdown per model or per resource, but you won't get per usage, for example. So with API management, we can now emit the token metrics per resource, per API call. And this will allow you a more granular look at how your APIs are being used, how OpenAI is being used, and charge those back to relevant business areas, which makes this another really powerful capability. Now, the exciting thing about these two is that they can get started really quickly in just a few clicks of a button. So I will spend my precious few minutes taking you through those. So here I can add a new API. I can add a new Azure OpenAI service. I will select my OpenAI resource. I will call this Data Popcorn. And I will then pick my policies that I want to use. So for this example, I want to do the token limiting. And I want to track a few extra metrics as well. And if I review and create, you'll see that this goes really quickly, and immediately we get our own API. And just to look at the back end, you can see we've got our new backend services, we've got our token per minute policy, and actually now I want to edit this, and I want this to be 200 tokens per minute. And it authenticates with managed identity as well. So if I save this, I can test this and prove it to you. So just as a reference, this is the model I'm going to be using, a GPT-4o deployment. It has a token rate limit of 200 tokens per minute, and you can see that I've just throttled it to 200 for this specific API. So I will call this, I will put in my API version, and here I have a really small payload to prove that it works. Hopefully we'll get a 200 response from this, because this is under the 200 token per minute limit. And it might take a few seconds. Here we go. Already we've got our response. Now I've got a payload here that I know is over that 200 limit. I paste this here, I send that off. You can see it's a slightly bigger payload and it's immediately been throttled. Even though the model deployment itself will take 2000, this particular API will only take 200, is limited to 200, which means that we can make sure that users aren't sending off really big payloads or lots of little payloads and throttling the service. Hopefully you can see in just a few clicks of a button, we've already got something up and running, and it's really powerful that we can limit like this. Hopefully this inspires you to check it out and have a good day.